Yeah, they're not like a low-level team, though, and we held on. Okay,
Good morning. I'd like to call the Finance and Budget Committee to order. First item is the approval of the minutes from last month's meeting. Moved by Mr. Cressito, seconded by Mr. Stroud. Any additions, corrections? With that, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Privilege of the floor and public comment. The action agenda, the first item is a request to transfer of funds for committee approval. I believe there's two here. I think that's all. The question on the transfer of funds.
make the motion.
Moved by Supervisor Stroud, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The next item, number 2, is a request of items to be discussed by the county administrator, Mr. Taflin. And
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 2A and 2B, we can take those together. Basically, we're going to purchase vehicles, about 7, I believe. We don't have the amount yet because the bids haven't come in yet. We'll use the vehicle reserve to cover the cost of this, but item 2B, public health, for public health and DSS will receive state funding for a portion of these as well. So that's what these two resolutions are for. We know that, or we anticipate that we'll still have about, after this purchase, about $100,000 remaining in the vehicle reserve. So we're not draining the vehicle reserve, but we knew that we were going to put this aside for these purchases at this time. Thank you.
Motion.
moved by Supervisor Drachi, 2A and B.
Yes.
And seconded by Mr. Molino. Any questions or discussion? Call the question on number 2A and B. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 3 is a request and items to be discussed by the county treasurer, Ms. Norton.
Good morning. The first 3A, item 3A, is to appropriate 11,536 from the debt service reserve fund, excuse me, to debt budget code, the various codes and serial bonds, interest, indebtedness. And this is for an amount of 11,536. We put an estimate in there because the bond wasn't closed when we were doing in the budget timing. So we put an estimate and we were unfortunately $11,536 short. So this money we're asking to transfer from the reserve to so we can pay it.
Get it on the floor. 3A, moved by Supervisor Cressito, seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Any questions? I'll call the question on 3A. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? B.
B is a request for a new position. As you all know, the deputy treasurer is retiring. I believe May 5th is the official date. This is basically the request to add a position at a per diem level at a rate of $97.58 per hour for a maximum of $35,000, not to exceed $30,000. This will be strategic. It is basically, I'm here asking for your support of this this resolution to ensure continuity of financial operations for the county and its $207 million budget as we pursue a smooth and orderly succession plan for key leadership positions within the treasurer's office and capitalize on the 35 years of accounting experience, of which 22 years of experience were obtained while working here at the county. And basically, again, I was brought up in the personnel committee, will this be 16 hours a week? It actually won't. Rob's traveling a lot as he's excited about retiring. However, we want to reserve him for those important. I think operations are fine. The existing or the new incoming deputy treasurer is trained on operations, and, you know, the standard stuff I think is fine. It's more of the strategic stuff. Again, this per diem would allow for a successful transfer of substantial institutional knowledge accrued by the deputy treasurer over the last 22 years. Training guidance as the treasurer's office transitions duties and responsibilities for the closings of the county's financial books and records, which is expected to be at the end of this month. We're almost done with March. In April, we'll have the 2024 results. Training and guidance for the many steps and roles played in the county's annual external audit. So as soon as we close the books, we roll right into the 2024 annual audit with our external auditors. And then also he would be available to transfer and guide us in the 2026 county budget process. In addition, he would provide backup and support and the review of all standard and, more importantly, non-standard or government specific financial matters that we will come up across. Again, I think by bringing him back as a per diem employee, whether it's 6 months, whether it's 8 months, whether it's 4 hours, 8 hours a week, or 16 hours a week, I think it basically minimizes the risk overall. I did also I also looked at the budget. This is not only budget neutral, but he's basically, we'd be saving a significant amount because he's not coming back for the full year. And also the new deputy treasurer would be coming in at a significantly lower salary. So there would be a favorable variance. I think it's important to let you know that I spoke to our external auditor, the partner, and I said, you know, last year in our representation letter, there was a recommendation that we really focus on succession planning because it's so critical in transitions. And again, there's a lot of financial experience we're talking about here. And while he had 3 excellent insights to provide, if I cut to his chase, his final conclusion was, and this is a direct quote, an ideal succession plan would allow direct mentoring for at least 6 months to a year. In my experience with government clients throughout New York State, in almost every case, the benefit of having a long tenured experienced employee available to transfer knowledge, provide backup support, and review financial matters far outweighs the cost. And then the final comment he made was, it is most cost effective to be proactive and control the costs up front rather than having to clean up the back end if there is a mess. There have been a number of counties
We
across
have
New
a
York.
motion to get
Sorry.
this on the floor.
I'll make that motion with a comment at the appropriate time too, Chairman.
Seconded by Mr. Casino. Mr.
Yeah,
Johnson.
on the question, so I realize that we've brought employees back after they retire. The question is, and it's nothing personal against the deputy treasurer, but the amount per hour, does that seem nearly $100 an hour? Is there a past practice for something $20 an hour higher than the current salary is getting?
No, there is not.
Mr. Driscoll.
Thank you, Chair. No, that was brought up at the last committee. It has not been done. Brought somebody down there.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to make a comment. During the last meeting, that and a number of other questions and concerns were discussed. It was a spirited discussion. I think that some people think that as committee people, we just rubber stamp request and just move on to the next item. There was some spirited discussion. There was a lot of questions. There were people presenting good points from both sides and asking that very same question. I was asked to sit in as chairman pro tem to allow Chairman Wild the opportunity to participate in the discussions. And I think it wasn't a unanimous vote, but I think that we vetted it. We did our due diligence. We asked those important questions and decided that it was appropriate to approve it.
Mr. Casito.
Thank you, Chairman. Isn't there an amount that a retired government worker can make coming back to a government entity? Is
Yes, sir.
or 35,000?
It is the 35, yeah.
So you'll go through that pretty quickly.
We actually are hoping, and quite frankly, so is he, that we don't even go through that. Because he's not, while it's 16 hours a week, that's the maximum. He's traveling, he's excited and he's going to travel. We're only pulling him back on a very strategic basis.
Okay.
So maybe I'd really like to see him through the budget. I'd like to have him through the budget process because unfortunately I was out for the budget process last year. So I'd really like to leverage that experience if possible.
He's very valuable. He's very knowledgeable, very valuable. How did you come up with the $20 increase? And is that, I've only been here a year, what's the norm for someone coming back on that type of basis? Percentage wise, or is everything just on an individual basis?
Nope, it's at the actual rate that they leave at. So if you'll see on the,
Yeah.
it says his current is 76.53.
See that?
There was a higher, this is kind of a middle ground. There was a request for 125, to be frank, without giving up too much information. So this is down. If I can read just one other thing from the external auditor, we wouldn't be able to use obviously D&M because there'd be a conflict of interest, but there's two. Due to the specialized nature of the government accounting and compliance rules, a lot of the counties are facing the same issue where they're losing someone with extreme, long tenured, highly specialized knowledge. And they either try to do more with less, and this scenario is not played out well, leading to interruptions, errors, and burnout. The other thing that they do is outsource a significant or some portion of this work. Again, I can do it at a strategic level. He's saying finding someone at that level is going to be hard to do, and his ballpark per diem rates, and I'm quoting here, for a lower level staff to perform this work would likely start at $200 an hour, and that is for someone who has limited to no actual knowledge of Warren County or its operations. And again, this is $35,000. It's not budget neutral, it's budget favorable. We have it in our budget. I will use it very strategically. We may not even use it all. Again, I would just like the opportunity to have him come back for key strategic help.
Your budget, right? It's your department.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question on 3B. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm opposed.
Thank you. Oh, do I have another one? Oh, sorry, I do have another one.
The occupancy tax.
But the OCTAX, sorry about that. You guys all have the information from the 17th. We've gone up to slightly, we're still at the same percentages and the same, actually, a lot of you weren't here at the occupancy tax meeting, so let me take a step back. Total collections at 317 for 2024 were 7.9 million against the same time last year of 7.6. So there's approximately a $300,000 increase. That actually represents an overall 4% in total. But when you take into account, again, we've had a number of successful enforcement efforts, it really only represents a 1%. And when I looked at the number as of today, we're still at the same percentages, although we are going up. And we have today and Monday. I'm hoping we'll actually maybe hit 500,000 over, and we'll find out about that next week. So again, they're going to continue to increase through Monday. I do want to share with you that the Granicus results to date are also in there. To date, we've only collected about 71,000, which is disappointing, especially because, when they first pitched, they came, with 250 to 600, expecting a 250 to a $600,000 lift. So, I've talked to them about it and I understand, and there's still room. I think we may get up to 100,000, but again, that's not 250 or not 600,000. Mike Swan had the, $500,000 lift, which was great. In addition, I really had high hopes. There have been a number of We have 3 modules that we're using with them and they're cumbersome. I wouldn't exactly call them user-friendly. And while it has made some things easier, it's made other things harder. So with that, just to share with you, I think there was a typo that Vinny brought to my attention. We still, when we're looking at a $71,000 on a 40,000 investment, we still have a 78% ROI. So it was a good investment, not nearly what I was hoping for. And just one other thing, 6,000 in penalties and interest on that 71,000 to the general fund. What we're gonna do go forward is we are meeting with Tyler, which is New World. They have a Octax system. What we're doing, we're looking to automate all the way from registration through collection of taxes. And we're also putting in a short-term or a occupancy tax portal so people can go in and they can register, they can do it all online. Of course, we're going to be here for help. And so Granicus has that ability. Again, I don't think that they're gonna be at the forefront right now, but we're also talking to Tyler again, which is New World, just because it might be a nice integration and it might, it might be because we work with them, we might get some cost benefit out of that. But we're also looking at a new player on the scene. It's called Deckard. I was just sitting in yesterday on the New York State NYSEX New York State update on the STR sales tax, and Deckard was in there and they showed, a dashboard and what they could do. And again, Granicus has a lot of those capabilities, but there were a few things that I really liked that are different. They actually have a calendar tracking ability where you see every night that is actually being rented and the amount. They also have audit capabilities and they also have end-to-end automation and a portal. So
How do you spell that?
it's DECK. It's either A or ERD.
Okay.
Okay. So stay tuned. Actually, April 7th, I believe, we have both, we're doing demos, we're looking at it. And then once we kind of get a feel, we'll put an RFP out. But I do think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of change. I think it's going to be very good change. Regarding the New York State sales tax, just to let you know, I gave Mr. Conover a quick update. I sat in on the second webinar yesterday. It's getting a lot of attention and there's a lot of confusion. VRBO actually reached out to me last week, and it's the first time I've been looking to try to reach out to Airbnb. Can't get anybody to return a call. VRBO reached out to us because we have one of the more robust registries, and they were thrilled that I had actually read the law and that I knew what was going on, because I guess a lot of counties just don't, because again, they have voluntary agreements or whatever. So we're actually meeting with VRBO and a slew of people from NYSAC on Monday. And while VRBO is very happy to collect both the sales tax and the occupancy tax for everybody and get it to us, get us to the counties, get it to the state, they are having a challenge with the registration and verification of that registration process. And that's what they want to talk to us on Monday. Airbnb, on the other hand, is a sticky wicket. Airbnb is sometimes they say to some of our STR owners that they're going to collect it on behalf of the counties. And then other times they say they're not. So we have multiple STR documented letters that Airbnb is not consistent in their communication. And they won't talk to us, and they're having a hard time. NYSEC's having a hard time. So there's going to be more to come on this. Again, NYSEC said this is going to be probably a 9 to 12 month process before it kind of smooths out. Tax enforcement efforts are actually up to 255. We just got another 20,000. That is on our act tax enforcement efforts. In addition to 255, we brought $107,000 into the general fund in interest, which is an increase of more than 160%. If you look on the back of the page, hotels and motels would be up 2% as of 317, same percentage as 327. Unfortunately, when you put in the decrease in enforcement efforts, they're -1. And then the short-term rentals continue to do well. They're up 13%. Any questions?
Mr. Stroh.
Just generically, I was reading. So I'm talking about tax and potential revenues that visitations from Canada are expected to be down 70% this year, according to this one firm. If any might know more. But just FYI.
No, I know. I've seen the comments, social media. Actually, I can't say it. There was a very funny meme. But the other thing that was in Vinnie's, in the OCTAX committee meeting, coordination committee meeting, I'm forgetting the woman's name, the woman who
Laura
said,
Coles?
yeah, the first quarter, for her hotel revenue is significantly down. And she's concerned. But the good news is, one positive thing to maybe leave you with is, according to NISAC, and again, if we get through the bumps in the road with the sales tax, I had originally estimated 1.2 million in sales tax on an annual basis. And they're saying that this is going to make people come out of the woodwork and register, and that it might be as high as, 1.5, 1.6. So there's a little bit of sunshine in there. Anybody else?
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just comment on, just business, not totally related, but I could back up what Laura said, January, February, March are down. And whether that's from the Canadian business, it's not. We did lose one ski tour. 70% sounds aggressive. And we do have a lot of good customers from Canada, not properties that we've got to know personally. And a lot of them have called us. And some of them, funny as it is, kid around and say, we're coming back. We're happy to be the 51st state. Others are saying, no, we don't like it. We're sorry. We love you guys. We're staying in Canada. So I don't know, 70% is aggressive, but it will have an impact. We are seeing it a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. Vinnie.
Okay, thank you. And as far as the host goes, when you're at that meeting, as far as Airbnb goes, if a host uses a platform, like you're saying, they're having trouble with trying to get over some of the sales tax, what happens if they pay on arrival? It's like at a hotel, if they collect with a virtual credit card or a credit card, they collect sales tax paid to the state enforces it, obviously, not
Right.
the county. But what happens if they pay on arrival at the Airbnb? I don't know, it's the question.
It's still, no, that's still, so.
It's still on the host, no question. but-
Absolutely.
You're right, but does the platform collect sales tax in the situation? That's right, the answer to that is no.
Right.
The host collects it and sends it to the state.
Correct.
Yeah.
Both sales and occupancy tax. There is one difference, and again, this isn't evolving, literally it changes every day almost. So I shared with you last time at the occupancy coordination meeting that the law states that if you're doing business on a platform, it is the platform that is on point to submit both the state tax to the state and the occupancy tax to the counties. That is now in question.
Right, it has to be in question.
It is now in
doesn't
question.
Work on arrivals that arrive.
No, that is only if they're doing work on the platform. Anything off the platform, if you're doing things on your own website, if you're doing walk-ins, anything that the host is doing off the platform, they have to report, report and send to New York State and
And I
us
don't want to
direct.
get off track, but in a hotel, even if you use a platform, lots of times they pay on arrival. So they
Oh,
book it,
okay.
but they pay on arrival.
That one I didn't think
Yeah.
about.
Okay.
All right, I have to figure that
I'll
one out.
talk to you more about it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 4 is referrals from the Criminal Justice, Public Safety and Emergency Services Committee. Chaired by Supervisor Durachi. It's from the Office of Emergency Services, and A is a request to amend the 2025 Warren County budget in the amount of $16,000 to reflect receipt of the FY24 Hazardous Materials Emergency Preparedness Grant funding.
I'll move it.
Introduced by Supervisor Stroud. Seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Any questions? Call the question on 4A. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4B is a request also to amend the 2025 Warren County budget. This amount is $3,428.58. It's to accommodate local matching fund requirement for the physical Y24 hazardous materials preparedness grant. Introduced by Supervisor Molino. Seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Any questions on 4B? Okay, call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 5 is a referral from the Health Services Committee chaired by Supervisor Strainer, Office of Community Services. And this is a request to appropriate $361,123 from budget code A 900.01, general, other restricted, opioid restricted, and $129,912 from budget code A 900.02, general, other restricted, opioid unrestricted, to the appropriate budget codes for expenditure of opioid settlement funds to address the opioid crisis in Warren County. Introduced by Supervisor Driscoll, seconded by Supervisor Stroud. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question on number 5. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 6 is a referral from the Human Services Committee chaired by Supervisor Driscoll, Countryside Adult Home. And this is a request to amend the 2025 Warren County budget in the amount of $29,621 to reflect receipt of anticipated equal funding awarded by the New York State Department of Health. Introduced by Supervisor Geraci, seconded by Supervisor Stroud. Any questions on number 6? Call the question on number 6. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 7 is referrals from the Legislative Rules and Governmental Operations Committee chaired by Supervisor Stroud. The County Clerk's Office. A is a request to amend the 2025 Warren County budget in the amount of $197,743 to move revenue from the county clerk's fees, A 1410-1255 to mortgage administration fee. That's 1410-1255.01. Due to the creation of this new revenue line is outlined in resolution number 357 of 2024. Introduced by Supervisor Mayday, seconded by Supervisor Molino. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question on 7A. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 7B, this is a request for a transfer of funds totaling it's 7,500, not the 13,500. From budget code A 1990-469 contingent account. And other payments, contributions to various budget codes within the county clerk's budget to cover the cost of renovations to the county clerk's office.
Question.
So let's get it on the floor first.
Oh, Frank, you said,
Moved by Supervisor Molino, seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Yes, go ahead.
maybe I'm on the wrong one. That's fine. I'm okay.
Sure. 7B. Any other discussion on 7B?
This has been reduced, right?
Yes, it was reduced from the 13
$7,500.
by 6,000. That's coming out of buildings and grounds. I'll call the question on 7B. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7C is a request to appropriate funds in the amount of $4,500 from budget code A 909 general fund unappropriated surplus to budget code A 1410-444 county clerk travel education and conference. And this is to return the 2024 funding encumbered for expenditure in 2025, which fell to the general fund when the purchase order for this expense was mistakenly liquidated. Moved by Supervisor Stroud, seconded by Supervisor Castillo. Any questions?
Chairman.
Yes.
Just very quickly, the county clerk mentioned at the last meeting that Warren County will be hosting the New York State County Clerks annual meeting on May 8th, from May 18th to the 21st up in Lake George. They expect about 100 attendees to that, and they're asking municipalities to maybe put something together as part of a goodie bag so that they can share that and help boost our economy and tourism. Thanks.
Any other discussion on 7C? I got a question. How is it mistakenly liquidated?
I have that question too.
What was the question?
How was it
I- I
mistakenly
remember that question.
liquidated?
So there was a miscommunications toward the end of the year. They put in the request to use the county credit card during the holiday season. And when the question was raised, if there was a purchase order, rather than responding yes, it was liquidated instead. So it was not carried over to 2025 for them to do this. It was not, it was not carried over. So that's why it was liquidated. And at that point, the deadline for creating a new purchase order for 2024 to be able to use it for this had passed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion on 7C? Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 8 is the referrals from the Public Works Committee chaired by Supervisor Conover. The first section is Parks, Recreation and Railroad, A and B is a request to amend the 2025 Warren County budget. A is in the amount of $4,900, and this reflects receipt of a donation from Friends of Alpianda Farm. And B is in the amount of $500, and this is to reflect receipt of funds donated from the Town Highway Superintendents Association of Warren County. I believe towards the spring thing.
I'll move A and B.
Introduced by Supervisor Stroud, seconded by Supervisor Molina. Mr. Higgins.
The only thing I was gonna comment was on is the first one from Friends of Up Yonder. As you all are aware, the county does not put any money into Up Yonder whatsoever. So we look for donations, we look for scholarships, we look for anything that we can do to contribute to their budget. And this would help us to keep on our part-time naturalists throughout the entire summer as opposed to just a month and a half.
Any other questions on those two? Call the question on 8A and B. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Let's see. The next ones are from the Department of Public Works. And A or C is a request to establish various road projects for 2025 as outlined in the agenda attachment. These are your paving,
These are for the paving project for 2025. Yep. And they're out to bid right now. We should receive the bids just before the April board meeting.
introduced by Supervisor Stroud.
Can we
Seconded
do
by
C,
Supervisor.
D, E, F at once or no?
Let's do this one separately. And then
Okay.
the rest of them.
Then I'll move C.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Stroud, seconded by Supervisor Cressida. Road projects. Any questions? I'll call the question on 8C. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 8D is a request to close capital project H 395 Oxbow Hill Road and Moon Hill Road, County Route 63, and return the remaining funds, $28,558.15 to budget code 9950-910 transfers, capital projects. E is request to amend the county budget in the amount of $28,558.15. Let's see. And that's putting the money into the 99, 50, 9, 10 transfers capital projects. And the last one, 8F, is a request to increase the capital project number H245. And this is Adirondack Bridge and Beaver Pond Bridge replacements in the amount of $178,670.40. Introduced by Supervisor Molino, 8D, E, and F. Seconded by Supervisor Mayday. Any questions on any of those? Yes, Mr.
Questions for Kevin on item F, the Adirondack Bridge and Beaver Pond Bridge. Do you have an update on construction dates, potential construction dates?
Yeah, we were expecting sometime later this year, but we think based on the right of way that we looked at from preliminary design, that it's probably gonna go into next spring.
Next spring?
If things change and right of way moves quickly, which normally it doesn't, we could potentially do it this fall, start it this fall, but we'll wait and see how the right of way process goes.
Okay, I would just ask you if you recall, there was an informal agreement with residents and business in that area to try to make this a later fall project. So instead of the spring of 26, if a late fall of 26, if you just keep that in consideration.
We will, and certainly, I think if we would probably take on Adirondack first, we would work with the contractor if we do get to this this fall to take on Adirondack first, because that's probably more heavily traveled. And that certainly would impact the tourist season. Beaver Pond, maybe not so much, and maybe that one would go to the spring. And again, depending on what we get through this right away process.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments on 8D, E, and F? Okay. If not, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Carried. Number 9 is Finance Committee action is required on the following personnel agenda items. I believe they were both approved by the Personnel Committee. And it's items 3A and 4. 3A is a request from the county clerk of the board. And this is a request to appropriate $986.23 from budget code 909, general fund unappropriated surplus to the A10-210 legislative board furniture furnishings to return 2024 funding that was returned to the general fund when a purchase order for the purchase of office chairs was mistakenly liquidated. Introduced by Supervisor Mayday. And a second. By Supervisor Presido. Any questions? Call the question on 9-3A. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The last one, 9-4, and this is from the Director of Information Technology. And it's a request to amend the table of organization and salary schedule to create the new position of Computer Help Desk Tech 2, number 5. The annual salary is $71,603, and delete the position of Programmer 1. The annual salary is $71,603, and this will be effective April 21st, 2025. Introduced by Supervisor Driscoll, seconded by Supervisor Stroud. Any questions? Question in 9-4. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. There are no referrals. Privilege of the floor and public comment. Mr. McGowan.
Thank you. I just want to make a comment here, following through in today's meetings there. We had two costs that were encumbered that were mistakenly liquidated, that we're taking out of the budget. And then we're putting it back in this year. They're significantly small, but amounts compared to our budget. But this overall throws off our year-end, budget projections that we look for when we do budgeting last year. So, my concern is that we really need to stay focused on making sure this doesn't happen, because what happens if it becomes a big figure? And, we approve a broad budget and then, 3 months later, we come back and say, oh, geez, we, liquidated that one. We have to put it back in because it goes back into the general fund. And that's the only comment. I understand mistakes are made, but this could become a big issue. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes. Treasurer Norton.
Thanks to Supervisor Driscoll for reminding me, and Mr. Tafon knows about this, and I believe I told a few of the other supervisors. NISAC is having its finance school, which has historically for decades been in Syracuse, and they are having it on May 6th, 7th, and 8th, I believe, at the Queensberry Hotel. They're very, very excited. This is a great opportunity for us, Warren County, to really highlight what's going on here, and they are truly looking at this as potentially being the next several decades that they're going to host this finance school in Queensberry. So we have, like Carrie Black had said, we are putting together, goodie bags or promotional bags. Also, Kevin Garrity will be kicking off one morning, and Mayor Collins will be kicking off another morning. They've done some really fun things. They have a murder mystery dinner at the Queensberry on the Wednesday night. And then they are hosting a big private dinner on Thursday night at Davidson Brothers. And they basically want to, if anyone wants to go from Warren County, from the team, they have just let me know whether you want to pop in. We're also going to have a booth with Warren County that the Lake George Chamber of Commerce and Conference Visitors Boards, it's been a long time to learn that, is going to be hosting, but it's also going to be hosted by Heather, I think, and my team. We're going to make sure, basically, we want to wow them, and we want them to come back. And Queensberry was picked out of not a large, maybe 5 or 6 groups, and Queensberry was the big, largely chosen, the highest chosen one. And they're really excited about this. I just wanted to give you a heads up. I just spoke with them earlier this week, and I have scheduled times and dates for everybody, and I will get that out later this week or probably next week. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Comment? Motion to adjourn. Moved by Supervisor Drachi, seconded by Supervisor Stroud. All in favor?